Hey everybody, welcome back. So we're going to continue on with our introductory look at bar chords, all right? And of course, full disclosure on my part, I am not a strong bar chord player. I know the theory behind it, I can play them, I can form them. I just don't like to, but that's me, all right? The reality is, bar chords are important. Now, you don't need them. We've talked about this before, but there are certain chords that you just don't exist in the open position. Things like, D flat or E flat or C sharp and all this kind of stuff. You really need the bar chords to play those, okay? So that is one, as you progress with your song learning, songwriting, and you just want to be a more well-rounded guitar player, bar chords are essential. Me personally, I pick and choose which ones, and I recommended to you about the B minor way back and F sharp minor. Those are two that come up a lot in when you Google songs that you want to play. So those are the ones that I learned, and I use those. I pepper them in with my open chords to expand my repertoire. Okay, but what we're talking about right here is playing everything in bar chords. All right, whether they're E-based bar chords or A-based bar chords, and once you know them, as you saw from the E-based, it's really a simple way to play because we can play every single chord using one shape. Simple, right? Okay, so let's look at the A-based. Now, if you haven't seen the E-based version, go check it out because I explain in depth about, the bar finger, how it replaces the nut, and all these kinds of things that I'm not going to repeat here. All right, so go check that video out, especially the beginning of it, and it sort of sets up the whole bar chord thing. The theory's the same, A-based or E-based. Just the shapes are different, and that's what we're going to deal with right now. So I'm going to zoom in, and we'll take a closer look at how to fret the A-based bar chords and the two shapes that will play in front of the bar. Okay? All right, so we're back and we are zoomed in. Now, A-based bar chords are played off of the notes of the A string, the fifth string, okay? So if we're going to play a C major bar chord, we are going to key it off of the C note. So that's this note right here on the third fret. So we'll start there because C is a very popular chord, as we found out from our open chords. So why not start there? It's something that you'll probably use, quite a bit. So the concept is we lay our bar finger on the third fret, fretting that C note right there. Now, if that looks familiar, well, there's a good reason, because it's also where we place our bar finger for an E-based G chord, right? Where we use the G note on that E string. But right now we're going to use that C note right there. Now, the two shapes that we're going to put in front of this particular bar are the A major shape, where we fret all three strings within the same fret, D, G, and B, and the A minor shape, right? So there's our A minor open. So just like in the E-based E major that we play in front of the bar, we're going to have to finger that with these three fingers instead of traditionally the first three fingers. So our A minor will actually look like this instead of like that in front of the chord, or in front of the bar, because we have to use this finger to bar the fret. Okay? So we're starting on C. So we lay our bar so that we are fretting the C note. Now, when you watch people play, you may see that their finger extends way up here or up here above even the E string. Well, that could be because they have really long fingers. I don't, right? But it's more importantly, it's to probably mute this string out by touching it slightly so that it won't, it won't, when you accidentally hit it, and you will, instead of strumming from the 5 down, you hit that 6th string by accident, you just mute it out. Now, in all honesty, it's not going to ruin your chord if you hit it the odd time, all right? And if you think back at the video that we did about replacing the B bar chord, right? So there was our B bar chord, and we used what's called a 1-finger B, where we just fretted, well, we basically just took the A and we moved it up 2, right? And it served as our B note, okay? It's a cheater's way, but it gets us by, all right? So remember, it's the same idea. We have to fret those 3 strings, but we really only have, because we're using our bar finger, it's too awkward to use these 3 fingers. It really is, okay? So we end up using the outside 2 fingers to depress the 3 strings. That's the first way to do it. So if this was a C chord, I'd be on my C note in the 3rd fret, barring it, and I would have my 2 outside fingers, and I kind of bend them at the first knuckle there, just behind the nail. I flatten them out so that they're depressing those same 3 strings as if I was playing an A open chord here. So that's your C, right? Now this, I know, can be deceiving because it looks like I'm doing something with it, but I'm not. That's not touching. Just these 2 fingers and the bar finger. Now, that's the first shape, the way to play that A major shape. Now the other way you might see people playing it is with just 2 fingers, meaning the bar finger and the ring finger. And the ring finger is responsible for fretting all those 3 strings. Now, in my opinion, it's more economical, but it's a lot harder for me. And again, full disclosure, this is the worst bar chord for me to play, is the A major shaped one, where I have to fret those 3 strings. I have a hard time with it. I've never been good at it. I have small hands. I never worked on it. I know how it works. I can tell you how to do it, but I'm not very good at it. So there's my C. Move it up 2 frets. There's my D. All right. So that's really all I'm doing, is I'm moving those 2 fingers up and down to make the appropriate chords. So those are the 2 ways to finger that A shape in front of the bar, okay? Now the other shape is the A minor. So remember our B minor here? Of course, so we move that up. Now we have our C minor, okay? Now if we move up one more, it's a C sharp minor. And one more would be what? Would be your D minor. So there's my D minor. Here's my D minor, open. Here's my D minor, D minor. Same chord, just a little kind of different sound playing it with the bar. All right? So in a nutshell, that is the A-based bar chords, because the same theory applies whether it's E or A. We find the note on one of these 2 strings, okay? We fret that note and we form either an E shape, as I am here, so that would be a G chord, because that's a G note and it's an E-shaped bar chord. So there's my G, right? There's my A. Or we have an A shape. So there's my C, there's my D. If we go the other way, there's my B, there's my B flat, or A sharp, okay? So we can literally move half a step at a time, or a whole step, whatever we need. If we need a sharp or a flat, we move one, except for, of course, after B and E, because one goes up to the next hole, because there's only that one step in between the two. So the concept is the same, and it is really an easy way to play chords, because it's one shape. Now, we can mix and match the two as well, all right? So you'll find that there's a corresponding A and E for each fret. So for example, here I have my G major. And remember, a lot of songs are GC, right? G, C, D, G, D, C. So there's my G. Now all I got to do is lift my middle finger, fret these strings differently, and slide a little bit down. So there's my C. G, C, G. And when you get good, the changes are so subtle that if you watched a pro on stage, you probably have a hard time seeing them transition from the E-based to the A-based chords, right? Everyone has its relative. So for example, so if we go to A on the E-based, playing an A major chord, and I drop everything and just fret those, well, what am I playing? I'm playing a D, because there's my C, and I go up 2 steps, or 2 frets, sorry, 1 whole step, and there's my D. And if I go 2 more, there's my E. And if I turn my E into a major, right? So I fret this, now I got a B. So B is always with E, A is always with D, G is with C, right? B flat is F sharp, or is an F, and a B is an F sharp. They're always going to be the same. And when you start to look at songwriting and the way songs are composed, you're going to find a lot of times that, just like we write GC, they write GC, right? And the A and the D are in the same fret, and they will follow each other in a song to make it easier with the fingering. It just seems to work that way. We can also, as we talked about in the last video, we can also mix bar chords with open chords. But you need to be careful, because you change the texture, right? So we already found out that there's the C major open chord, and here's the C bar chord. It's a little higher, it's a little different. So you need to be aware of that, right? So generally, you know what? In a perfect world, the rule of thumb is play all bar chords or all open chords. If you want to throw in a B minor with your open chords, that's acceptable, because there is no other way to play a B minor. Well, there is, okay? But again, it can be complicated for beginners. So, you know, we don't mind mixing one, either an F sharp minor or a B minor, in with our open chords. But for the most part, it's kind of one or the other, because the whole concept of playing a bar chord, moving everything, sliding it up and down, is a good one, and it's an easy one. If we start mixing and matching, now we're into changing and often moving from up here to up here. You know, it can be done, but it's really, you know, if you're going to play bar chords, and when you practice your bar chords, it's best to practice a progression. So if I'm going to practice, say, G, C, D, so I have my G played in the E shape, then I can drop to my C and go up 2 frets to my D. Right? If I'm going to play, say, A, B, right? Then I can go here for my C, just for practice. I could have gone A, B, C, or I could go A, B, C, just to practice. And again, start slow and work your speed into it once you've developed a good sounding bar chord. Okay, so let's All right, so when you're practicing your bar chords, okay, it's a good idea, obviously, to start slow. Just like this is no different than learning when way back your open chords, and it was quite intimidating and overwhelming, and they really didn't sound good when you started, right? But the more practice you put into it, you developed a rhythm and a routine, and they started sounding good, your chords. Well, it's the same thing. Now you're entering a new learning curve, which I always say will take shorter time because you're more confident, you're more experienced with the guitar, right? So your learning curve will be shorter. Um, Look, bar chords for me at this point, I I don't avoid them. I just prefer not to play them whenever possible. If you want to go the other way, you're more than welcome, and I encourage you to make them part of your repertoire. But as a beginner, or even, you've been playing a few months, don't worry that you don't know all your bar chords or they don't sound right. I would stick with the B minor and the F sharp minor. Okay, so that's the F sharp minor right here, which is an E based, right? Because we have the E minor shape, those two strings, and we're in the second fret, F sharp minor. And right under that, we have our B minor with the A minor shape, right? As an A based bar chord. Those are the two that I incorporate into my open chords more often than not. So it really does depend on you. I just felt that you should at least understand bar chords and at least be able to play a few of them because it will expand your repertoire moving forward. You'll be able to play different songs. The first time I realized it, I'm going to leave you with this, was a song, and I'm going to say it went something like, it was America's Sister Golden Ear, Sister Golden Hair, okay? And it was a lot of bar chords, and I was overwhelmed. But that's what forced me to learn certain bar chords, was to play that song. So, you know. All right, so look, I hope this helps. Um, it doesn't hurt to practice them. You can't do yourself any wrong by knowing them. And but other than that, it's up to you whether you feel you want to make them part of your repertoire or your regular repertoire. So I hope this has helped. As usual, I welcome any comments, questions you might have, anything that maybe I need to clear up a little bit. And have fun with it. If you like what you hear and you think I can help you out, hit subscribe. And a lot more stuff coming down the pipe for all, catering to beginners, but also for all levels up to intermediate. Right? Thanks again, and see you soon.